Hi there, a few months ago I got the Kobo Forma because this is the best Kobo you can buy, but then they pulled a fast one on me and they came out with the Kobo Elipsa very shortly after I got this device. So naturally speaking, I bought the Elipsa so I could compare these devices head to head. And my high level summary is this. The Kobo Elipsa definitely is the more premium device that you can buy right now in Kobo's lineup, but just because it's the most premium doesn't mean it's the best. It's really more of a note-taking device, and yes, you can read on the device, but I don't think this device is meant for reading. The Forma, however, is meant for reading. It does a really much better job of doing that. Now in this video, I will not be talking about the note-taking features on the Elipsa. Obviously, the Elipsa can do note-taking with the physical stylus, and the Forma cannot do that. I will not be talking about that in this video. There are actually quite a few other differences between these two devices. I really want to focus on all of that. If you're in the market for a new Kobo and you have the budget to afford the Elipsa or the Forma, I want to tell you all the differences besides the obvious note-taking one. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the buying experience and the value behind the Forma and the Elipsa. The Forma comes in at $249. You do have the option to configure it between 8 GB and 32 GB, so there is some configurable options there. The Elipsa, on the other hand, only comes at 32 GB at a starting price of $399. The one thing I will say though is the Elipsa comes in a pack. You're buying the Elipsa, the stylus, and a case all in one package. The Forma is nothing like that at all. All you're getting is the Forma device. So in terms of value for your money, I do think because of the accessories, the Elipsa has more value for your buck. With that being said though, I don't like that you can't configure this device. You can only buy it as a pack. You can't choose your storage capacity. You can't take out the case, for example, if you don't want that. So you're being forced to buy all these extra things that you may not even need. Moving on, the next thing I want to talk about is the display on the Forma and the Elipsa. The Forma comes at an 8-inch display with 300 ppi pixels per inch. It's a really high resolution display. And on top of that, you also have things like a warm light temperature control display. So at night, you can control the warm light temperature to make it more of an orangish color, which really helps if you're reading at night. You don't get that blue light. I think that's really important for me personally. If you read at night, especially before going to bed, that could be a feature that is really, really important to you. Now, on the other side of the spectrum over here, we have the Elipsa. The Elipsa has a 10.3-inch display at only 227 ppi. So the resolution on the Elipsa is actually less than the Forma. And there are a few places where I realize that, especially with note-taking with the stylus, I do see the resolution show on the Elipsa. It's not as crisp. And on top of that, the Elipsa is also missing that warm light temperature control. So for reading purposes, that could be a deal breaker for you. The one thing I will say though is the Elipsa does have dark mode, where it inverts the colors of black and white. The Forma does not have that. I don't know why there's a difference there, but it's very interesting to see the Elipsa has dark mode, but not warm light, and the Forma has warm light, but no dark mode. Now, if you ask me personally, I actually prefer the warm light temperature control. I don't use dark mode on my Kindle even. I just don't like it on the e-ink devices. I do use it on my computer, but not on my e-ink devices. I would really have preferred they included the warm light temperature control instead of dark mode. Next up, we have the build quality comparison between these two devices. Let's start with the Forma. This device is an all rubber device. It feels really, really sturdy. I didn't really understand the rubber aspect of the Forma until I started using it. It just feels like a very durable device. I can toss it into my bag, I can travel with it all without needing a case. It has a really nice grip to it, and I really, really like that. It has that classic textured back on the back of the device with little holes in it. I don't really like that personally. Crumbs and dust do get stuck in there quite often, but putting that aside, this device is just really nice to hold. It feels great. On the other side though, we have the Elipsa, and this device is different but also really, really good. What I mean by different is that it does not have that sturdy feeling that you get on the Forma. It has a more premium feel. So on the back of the Elipsa over here, we have this matte finish. It's kind of plasticky, but it's not like a cheap plastic. It's more of a premium plastic. Then also there's no texture on the back, and I really, really like that. There's no dust or crumbs getting stuck on this thing. You can wipe it down very easily. And on the front, the display is so much nicer. I don't know what it is, but they have this matte finish on the display, and I really, really like that. One thing I will say though, I did not mention this in my first impressions video, but after using this device for a few weeks now, I actually have scratched the display by putting it upside down on my desk and moving it around. It actually scratched very easily, so that's one thing to keep in mind. It's a bit more fragile, I think. That's the overall theme of this device. It's more premium, but definitely does not feel as durable as the Forma. And on top of that, I really don't feel like I can travel with this device. It's really, really big. The 10-inch display is nice, but it doesn't really feel like I can throw it in my bag. I have to use the case, which adds even more weight and size to the device. I do like that it comes with the case. That's really cool, but I don't think it's really the best travel device, where the Forma has a nice large display, but it's still small enough where you can toss it in your bag without worrying about it. The next thing I want to talk about are the buttons and ports on both of these devices. Let me start with the Elipsa. The Elipsa is really, really nice. It has a USB-C connection, which is kind of unheard of with Kindles and Kobos. I really, really love that they added USB-C to this device. A very welcome change. And then also, it has a really nice power button. I don't like the placement of it too much. It's kind of in this awkward location on the side of the device, but it really does work. It clicks nicely and it just works the way you expect it to. And I know it sounds kind of crazy talking about power buttons, but when I go to the Forma over here, it's nothing like the Elipsa. The power button on this device is impossible to press down. It's also on the side, very weird location, but this is the worst power button I've ever used on any piece of tech. It just does not work half the time. And also, it has a micro USB port, which is kind of old school. I don't know why they haven't changed this to USB-C yet, but I can't really complain too much. Every other Kindle and Kobo also has micro USB. I do think that'll be a new thing that we start to see in the years to come. Now, there are a few additional things I want to mention in terms of differences between these two devices. The first being waterproofing. The Forma actually has a bit of waterproofing where you can bring this to the beach or your bath, whatever it might be. You can read this next to water and you shouldn't have to worry too much at all. On the Elipsa though, you can't do that. There is no waterproofing on the Elipsa, so if that's important to you, the Forma is a must for that. Secondly, the processing power on both these devices is very different, but I actually am very surprised at the results. The Forma has a 1 GHz processor. I've had no issues with that whatsoever. It doesn't freeze up on me, there's no lag, the software is well optimized, the hardware works great. This is a great, reliable device. On the Elipsa, however, they put in a 1.8 quad-core processor, and I've actually had more lag on my Elipsa than I've ever had on my Forma. This is most definitely because the lag is coming from the stylus and taking notes. That's a new piece of software that Kobo just created, so I'm sure they'll be optimizing that in the future with software updates, but I've definitely had some laggy moments when writing in it and just navigating around the UI. The Elipsa is still a work in progress, I would say. They're working on it. It's not that bad at all. It works really, really well, but I definitely had more lag on this device than my Forma. If you want to know more about the Elipsa and seeing me use it for note-taking and all those other features I didn't talk about in this video, check out my first impressions and unboxing video. Link for that on the screen right now. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.